Boom, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy Nolan Hawkeye Anthony here, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic week wherever you may be and however you may be listening. I got a jam-packed show for y'all today. After the recent bye week, Iowa is playing Wisconsin next Saturday at Wisconsin, and it should be a classic slugfest. To say the least. This is an important game for many reasons. It's much more important than it initially looked, as Wisconsin got off to kind of a slow start, whereas Iowa got off to just an incredibly fast start. And while Wisconsin has definitely picked up a few victories in a row, Iowa, after a loss to Purdue, there's some question marks. And not to mention, the Big Ten West title is up for grabs and ultimately a trip to Indianapolis. But before we get into any of that, I want to mention going to 247hawkeye.com. And I really hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button. It really means a lot when you guys do that. We've been doing this for about 5 months. And the channel is already almost up to 1,000 subscribers. Once it hits 1,000, we can monetize the channel and really get going. The thing that I always say is the money for you guys obviously does not matter to you guys when it comes to me, but what it will allow me to do is to create more content and have much more fun with this. So I just hope you guys consider doing that, and be sure to check in every pregame and postgame right here on the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony channel. We have a little show. And last but not least, I will put the PayPal link in the description. And without further ado, let's get into this. Here we go. Here are the Big Ten football standings. And by the way, guys, I appreciate all of those of you who reached out to me during the bye week saying, Nolan, where's the content? Where's the video? Where's the video? I did put up an Iowa basketball preview if you want to go and check that out. Maybe I should have waited a little bit longer to do that, but I thought now was a good time. But I'm glad to be back with you guys either way. So here we are. In the West, I'm not sure why Minnesota is considered top of the Big Ten West, but they very much are tied with Iowa for the Big Ten West lead. And one of the early videos I made, I basically said that Iowa had the Big Ten West locked up because they had a game and a half lead on almost the entire Big Ten West. And with the loss to Purdue, that definitely put things, well, a game. They had about a game and a game and a half, 2-game lead over much of the Big Ten West, with the exception of one or two teams. But with the loss to Purdue, that has definitely changed things. Minnesota is on a 3-game win streak. And while, in my opinion, they haven't played the most difficult schedule, in all honesty, Iowa, according to Vegas and all those other places, should have beat Purdue as well. That was definitely not considered one of the tougher games. And Minnesota beat Purdue at Purdue, whereas Iowa lost to them. They also beat Nebraska, and they beat Maryland pretty handedly this past week. Now, this is the Iowa versus Wisconsin game preview, but this is, I'm just trying to show you guys the importance of this game here, because while Iowa and Minnesota have a game lead over Purdue and Wisconsin, if Iowa can get the head-to-head tiebreaker over Wisconsin, which they do not have with Purdue, but they still have a game lead over Purdue, that would be excellent. Not to mention, it would give them a 2-game lead. It would give them a 2-game lead plus a head-to-head matchup victory. It would pretty much, barring any crazy setback by the Iowa Hawkeyes, it would pretty much ensure that at the very least, Iowa would not lose the Big Ten West to Wisconsin. So there you guys have it. Here are the latest Big Ten West standings. By the way, Iowa checks in at 9th in the AP poll. I will show you guys a little image of that real quick. So here are the rankings Hawkeye fans. Iowa checks in at number 9, which is the highest in the Big Ten West. I'm not sure if Minnesota or Wisconsin is ranked. Some of you guys are going to be like, dude, why are you talking about Minnesota? It's because I'm playing the long game. Iowa needs to make it to Indianapolis here. But it looks like Iowa is the only ranked team in the Big Ten West. They have a victory over the 22nd ranked Iowa State Cyclones, and they have a victory over the 20th ranked Penn State Nittany Lions, which they came from behind to secure that victory as well. By the way, guys, the channel is looking for a sponsor, and I would prefer it to be an Iowa business. But I do have a sponsor. We'll see how that shakes out. But the channel is just growing so rapidly. I'd rather get this started now than wait any longer. But the bottom line is, real quick, Iowa's loss to Purdue really showed the weakness. And unfortunately, some of the things that the national commentators were saying about the Iowa Hawkeyes kind of ended up being true. For example, what would Iowa do if they did not get a bunch of takeaways, a bunch of turnovers? What would they do if they didn't have excellent field position and basically what these commentators and stat guys view as luck? Whereas I don't, a former Division I water polo player, I view the ability to take the ball away as a skill as much as any. But Iowa struggled when they weren't able to do that against Purdue. Another question was, when was Iowa going to find their identity offensively? When was Iowa going to figure out the run game and the pass game? Because while the run game hasn't been terrible, it also has not been as good as we have all expected. The pass game, we expected as Iowa fans, Tyrone Tracy to be one of the Big Ten's best wide receivers, and he has been average at best. I hate to say it, but that is a fact. Nico Reganey, average. Charlie Jones has been average, but he is also an excellent special teams guy. So I can give him a break because of how good he is on special teams. Now, before I read this opponent preview of Wisconsin by Hawkeye Insider, I do want to say that my biggest concern thus far is that Iowa doesn't have an identity offensively. Are they going to be a balanced football team, or are they going to pound the rock and put everything or a lot on their defense and slow the game down? Now, I would prefer them to be a balanced team because I don't think we've seen previous Iowa teams in the past just pound it and pound it and pound it. And eventually it just doesn't work. And Iowa loses 1-2 games in a row, or games that they shouldn't have lost just because of how unwilling they were to pass the football. But the bottom line is even if Brian Ferentz wants to be a balanced offense, even if that is what he wanted to do, which most of the evidence would say that is what he wants Iowa to be, the current guys in there aren't getting it done. The wide receiver group is not getting it done. Tyrone Tracy and Nico Reganey. Sam Laporta has not made as big of a jump as expected. And Tyler Goodson also has not been as explosive as expected. Now, I say that with the expectation that Iowa will keep the starting nucleus as is. If Brian Ferentz and the Iowa coaching staff is willing to put Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce in there much more, then I would be much more optimistic. But until that happens, I remain kind of steadfast in just hoping that every now and again the offense will be okay, but they won't be like they were last year. But if they finally put the youngsters in there that are very, very talented, I think Iowa's offense can get back on track. And in all fairness, Brian Ferentz has given a chance to the Iowa wide receiver group. He has given a chance to all of the starters to get it done, and they haven't done it quite yet. All right, let's read this here. It has not been smooth sailing for Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz. The sophomore quarterback has completed 56% of his passes while throwing 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Mertz only threw 8 passes against the Boilermakers on Saturday, so there wasn't much use for the passing game. Wow, that's crazy. In all honesty, I wish Iowa would have done that against Purdue. It would have been much better than what they ended up doing. They totally went away from any of the things that were working in the pass game. The Badgers are 13th in the conference in passing yards per game with 146. They also have the least passing touchdowns in the conference with 3. The backfield for Wisconsin is unique. Clemson transfer Ches Malusi has had his fair share of tough games, but he has also run over 100 yards in 4 games. Malusi is coming off one of his best games of the season against Purdue, where he had 27 carries for 149 yards and a tub. With Jalen Berger leaving the program, Wisconsin has gotten a nice boost from true freshman running back Braylon Allen. The Wisconsin native could actually be considered a true freshman, as he should technically be a senior in high school right now. Wisconsin's leading receiver this year is wideout Danny Davis. He leads the team with 241 receiving yards and is second on the team interceptions with 18. Kendrick Pryor is right behind him with 225 receiving yards and 18 interceptions. Tight end Jake Ferguson leads the team interceptions with 22 and 202 receiving yards. Chamari Dyke has over 100 receiving yards at wide receiver, while tight end Clay Cundiff also has a few receptions. All right, guys, here are some of the team stats. Here is the rushing defensive stats. Wisconsin is number 1 in the country with their rushing defense, whereas Iowa checks in at 7th. And I got to be honest, guys, it's rare that Iowa sees a team better at anything defensively, but Wisconsin is by far in a way one of the top dogs in the Big Ten when it comes to defending the football, and they are number 1 at rush defense. By the way, guys, I will be showing you the Pro Football Focus grades, and if you're a Wisconsin fan, I'm telling you right now, okay, this is an Iowa Hawkeye channel, and while I will try and be fair to you guys and try and show as many things as possible, the bottom line is I can't show every stat or every ranking of every Wisconsin player and Iowa player because it would make this video too dang long. All right, here is the scoring defensive ranking. Iowa checks in at tied for 3rd, giving up 14.57 points per game, and Wisconsin checks in at 17th, giving up 18.43 points per game. Here is the passing defense. Wisconsin has the 10th best passing defense in the country, whereas Iowa has the 49th, which is kind of surprising considering Riley Moss and Matt Hankins were both on the midseason All-America list for at least one publication, with I believe Matt Hankins being on multiple lists. So it is a little surprising. And last but not least, on the defensive side, Wisconsin has the 2nd best total defense in the country, with Iowa checking in at number 12. And, you know, as much praise as the Iowa defense was given early on in the season with the tough teams that they had faced, the bottom line is the defensive line has struggled at times getting to the quarterback, and at times Iowa's kind of prevent defense gives up too many chunk yards that inevitably gives the opposing team's offense too much confidence, which in return turns into momentum, which can be a problem. So hopefully those things get shored up this upcoming week. And now we're on the offensive side of the ball, and it's not surprising. Iowa has the 100th best or 100th worst. I don't know which one it should, probably best, but best passing offense in the country. And again, that's not really surprising. It is what it is. Wisconsin, let's see if I can find them here, is 123rd, averaging 146 yards passing per game. And I will say this is one thing, because the bottom line is that while Purdue's defense was much better than I realized when I did the game preview, their defense is not the Iowa defense. And it's one thing to go up against Purdue's defense, and it's another going up against Iowa's. And it will be interesting to see what Wisconsin does when Iowa inevitably stacks the box with their top 10 rushing defense in the country, and what they'll do if they get stifled in the run game. And as an Iowa fan, that is what Iowa needs to do at all costs, is shut down the run. At all costs, that is what they need to do. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is the number one game plan. Rushing offense, Wisconsin checks in at number 19. We'll find Iowa here. Iowa is 103rd in the country at running the football, averaging 116.6 yards per game. And as an Iowa fan, a diehard fan, this is by far the most surprising things about this team this year. If you would have told me that Iowa would have started the season 6-0 with an average rushing attack, I would have told you, you are crazy. There's no way that would happen. And the reality is, since 2015, there's been, 2015, Iowa had a pretty good rushing attack. And if, this past year, Iowa had a good rushing attack, but more often than not, Iowa has underwhelmed. And with the talent and experience that they have at the running position, it is shocking that they are so unproductive. Now, can that change the rest of the season? I think so. And Iowa has the talent to do so. That is where Iowa if Iowa is going to change their offensive production, where it starts and where it needs to start is in the run game. Here is the scoring offense. Wisconsin is number 90 in it's either scoring or total offense. Wisconsin is number 90. And of course, Iowa is on the third page, as per usual. Iowa is number 120 in total offense in the country. And last but not least, scoring offense, Iowa checks in at number 73. Averaging, let's see here, 28 points per game. That's just not good enough. There's no reason Iowa should not, at the very least, be averaging 30 points per game offensively. Wisconsin is ranked at number 110. And furthermore, with Iowa, the rest of the season, with all these teams that will have ample amount of tape on them, if they don't shore up some of these inconsistencies, then they will lose one or two more games, because the defense, as good as it is, it will not be enough to patch up for the shortcomings of the offense. And so those things will need to change if Iowa is going to continue the success that they have had in this hot start and make it to Indianapolis. All right, kids, here we go. Here are some Pro Football Focus rankings of I'll try and put some Wisconsin players in there along with the Iowa players. Spencer Petras is number 65, and he, early in the season, a lot of people were a little harsh on him, but he was still a top 30 quarterback according to Pro Football Focus. But now, it's changed. Now he has a 79.0 ranking, which isn't so bad. But he has definitely kind of gone back to the mean or average, if you will. And Graham Mertz is number 197. And I will say, this is one thing that I have been vindicated on. I did say that Graham Mertz, because everybody got excited about his first game in college that he ever played. And I told everybody to hold their brakes. The bottom line is, the two biggest differences between college and high school is, number one, the game speed, and number two, the preparation. Once teams were able to get game film on Graham Mertz, things definitely started to change a little bit regarding his fortunes. So as an Iowa fan, that is definitely something that they need to get after and attack, as they did last year. Now, Iowa fans, you need to pay attention to this. This is the Iowa wide receiver core, and Iowa does not have one wide receiver in the top 300 in the country. Nico Reganey is number 409. Charlie Jones is 481, and Tyrone Tracy is ranked as the 669th best wide receiver in the country. And the two highest graded wide receivers on the Iowa team is Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce. If Iowa finally goes to them and gives them more snaps, I will be much more optimistic. If they don't, I just won't be. Now, the good news is Wisconsin is not better, but at the very least, they have two wide receivers in the top 310. Kendrick Pryor is ranked 304th. He's right outside the top 300. And Danny Davis, the third, is 204th, with Chimere Dike checking in at, or DK, it might be DK, like Daryl DK from the U.S. men's national team, who's playing overseas in England. He's a forward in soccer. But, I don't know. You Midwesterners might not know a dang thing about soccer. No, I'm joking. But so there you guys have it. I mean, Iowa needs to get much better at the wide receiver position, and fast. Here are the tight end rankings. Wisconsin's Jake Ferguson is 14th in the country with a grade of 78.9. And Sam Laporta is 56th. And that's not bad. But I will say, this being Sam Laporta's second year starting, third year getting a lot of snaps. I mean, you could almost say that Sam Laporta was a starter his freshman year, as he was the go-to tight end when Iowa played USC. So he can be better. He can do a lot better. That is a fact. Let's see if we can find Luke Lachey here. And in my opinion, Luke Lachey is the X factor. If Luke Lachey, who checks in at number 157, if Luke Lachey can get going, then that will open up some room, not only for Sam Laporta, but the entire Iowa wide receiving core. Tyler Linderbaum is number one at the center position, and Joe Tippmann is number two. How incredible. That is classic Iowa and Wisconsin football. Josh Seltzner of Wisconsin is 10th in the country at guard, and Justin Britt is 12th. Connor Colby, the true freshman, is 21st, and Cody Ince is 22nd. I've been saying for a while that the issue for Iowa is not the interior of the offensive line, rather the outside. So hopefully the Iowa tackles develop and improve quick. And it looks like that's Wisconsin's issues as well. And it's not really surprising. I mean, the past 2 years, Iowa has lost their 3 starting tackles. They lost Mark Kellenberger, they lost Alaric Jackson, and they lost Tristan Wirfs, who was drafted in the first round. Logan Bruss of Wisconsin is 79th in the country. Let's keep scrolling down here a little bit. Let's see if we can find an Iowa guy. That would be nice. Wisconsin, the other Iowa or Wisconsin tackle is 141st, Tyler Beach. Whereas Iowa's guys, whoo, man, they are way down here, guys. Mason Richmond is 222nd, and Nick DeYoung is way down here. Jeez Louise, 292nd. And guys, that is just not acceptable for any player on the Iowa offensive line. That is just the bottom line. All right, let's start speeding this up a little bit. The cornerbacks, Iowa has 2 of the top 10 cornerbacks in the country. They have the 6th and the 8th best corner, although it kind of looks like they have the 4th and the 5th best. I don't understand why, because that doesn't make any sense. Their grade doesn't make any sense. They're not 6th or 8th. They're 4th and 5th. Let's see if we can find a Wisconsin guy. And they're ranked that high after largely getting torched by David Bell the week before. Wisconsin has the 109th best cornerback in Caesar Williams. And that'll do for now. If Wisconsin people get upset, that's fine. I want to speed this up a little bit. John Torchio is the 28th best safety in the country. Dane Belton is the 52nd, although he's not a true safety. He's more a cornerback safety linebacker hybrid. Let's see if we can find Colin Wilder is 71st for Wisconsin. Let's see if we can find some more of Iowa's guys here really quickly. Man, they are way down here. Xavier Nwankpa, this is why you need to go to Iowa. Jack Kerner is 197th. So we will stop there as Merriweather is too far down to even look. And Wisconsin has the best linebacker in the country, and that's not really surprising. Well, they have 2 of the top 10 linebackers. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Actually, they have the 1st and the 6th best linebacker in the country. I mean, that is always a strength of their defense. Justin Jacobs has slid a little bit. He's 38th after spending a lot of time in the top 10, and Jack Campbell is 67th. I will say Seth Benson has been a little underwhelming for me this year. I kind of almost feel like maybe Iowa should put him in Seth Benson's spot and make Seth Benson the guy who comes in every now and again to provide some relief and play Dane Belton a lot more. Seth Benson is number 202. Matt Henniganson is number 54 on the edge, and on the interior, Noah Shannon is number 84, and Isaiah Mullins is number 92. And on the edge, Zach Van Valkenburg is the highest graded Iowa or Wisconsin D end at number 60. Although, Wisconsin playing a 3-4 defense, some of the linebackers definitely are considered kind of defensive end. Let's look at the kickers and the punters for the first time this season because, well, looks like we can't. Maybe we can see the punters. I haven't checked that out yet because it is a big deal. Iowa, the reason that they started 6-0 is because they have an elite defense and an elite special team. So there you guys have it, guys. Those are the Pro Football Focus grades of Wisconsin and Iowa. I did my best for the Wisconsin fans. Hopefully they don't get too butthurt that I didn't show any and every single one of their players. Oh, we forgot the running back position, I forgot the running back position. So let's check that out real quick. looks like Wisconsin or Iowa does not have a top 100 running back. Let's see. Top 150. Yeah, I don't see Wisconsin or Iowa so far. Tyler Goodson, number 179. That is just way too low. Way too low. I don't know why I don't see a Wisconsin guy here. Here's Wisconsin's guy, number 263, Chez Malusi. So there you guys have it. These are the Pro Football Focus grades. Before I show you guys the ESPN Football Power Index page, I forgot to show you guys the schedule for Wisconsin. And they early in the season, they lost to Penn State by 6 points. They lost to Notre Dame handedly, although much of the game was close until probably the midway through the third and the fourth quarter. They got smashed by Michigan. They beat Illinois, and they beat Army, and they beat Purdue handedly. And if we're being honest here, which I try and do always, Wisconsin, and I do think Wisconsin fans will take issue to this. Wisconsin has beaten the teams that they should have beaten. And I know some of them will say, well, we should have beat Penn State. We should have beat Michigan. Well, and we should have beat Notre Dame. So, there would be one or two fans that will say that. But those were all ranked teams. And I don't know if Wisconsin was favored, but just looking at it from a non-Wisconsin fan's perspective, Wisconsin has won every game they should have won, with the exception of Purdue. Maybe Purdue was favored, and they've lost every game they should have lost. And I'll bring that up in the end with my analysis and my prediction for the game. And I don't really think that this is a much of a stretch saying that. Like I said, I don't know which games they were favored in or not, but just looking at who they played that was ranked, and just my eye test, all the games that they have lost, I expected them to lose in my preseason prediction. Whereas the teams that they have beaten, they should have beaten. And that just is what it is. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the little side-by-side comparison. Spencer Petras has 9 tubs to 6 INTs, whereas Graham Mertz has only 2 touchdown passes to 7 interceptions. Not good. And only 945 yards passing. Tyler Goodson has 586 yards on the ground, 5 tubs, whereas Malusi for Wisconsin has 692 yards, 4 tubs. And the leading receiver for Iowa, Sam Laporta, has 332 yards, whereas Wisconsin's leading receiver has 241. Iowa is considered the favorite by ESPN to win this game, 53.7% chance of winning this game. And however, Wisconsin they are a 3-point favorite, or 3.5-point favorite. Now, I do expect that to come down. I think it'll probably be about 2.5, maybe 2 by the time the game rolls around. I think had Iowa beaten Purdue, that they would definitely be favored in this game. But because Iowa lost so convincingly to Purdue and Wisconsin beat Purdue so convincingly, it doesn't really surprise me that they are favored, and this is a game at Wisconsin. Here are the team stats side by side, and I will keep those up while I give you guys my analysis and preview. Here we go. The bottom line is, guys, that Iowa has been able to get away with much of the season with creating turnovers, having a great special teams, kicking the football, punting the football, kick returns, punt returns, the whole 9 yards. They have been able to get away with having an elite team on those 2 phases of football. Against Purdue, the below average or average offense really came back to bite them. And now, do I think it's possible that Iowa wins this game in much of the same way that they have beaten Penn State or beaten Iowa State or beaten Indiana? Yes, I do. I do think it's possible for them to smother Wisconsin and create turnovers from Graham Mertz. With that being said, though, will Wisconsin even give Iowa the opportunity to pick some passes off? I don't know. I think Iowa will have to look to create turnovers through fumbles, not through interceptions, because I don't think Wisconsin will be passing the football very much this game. And if you're Wisconsin, I do think you should be concerned about that. Iowa this is not Purdue, okay? And I know Purdue beat Iowa, but there is such a thing as an anomaly, okay? And the bottom line is Iowa is an elite top 10 defense in the country. Will Wisconsin, if you're a Wisconsin fan, you have to ask yourself, will they be able to run the football and defend so good that they beat the Iowa Hawkeyes? And the answer, in my opinion, is no. As long as Iowa doesn't turn the football over like they did against Purdue, as long as they are just mediocre on offense, in my opinion, that will be enough. And I feel more confident that Iowa will be able to generate a turnover from Wisconsin than the other way around. And when I look at this matchup, because a lot of sports it's a game of matchups. Just sports in general. I remember my college coach used to always say, we don't match up well against them. We don't match up well against them. I'm nervous. That's what he would always say. And on paper, this looks to be a game of teams that are very similar, both excellent defenses, average offenses, good special teams. But I think the primary difference is Wisconsin will not throw the football. And going against a team like the Iowa Hawkeyes, who will inevitably stack the box and not allow Wisconsin to have a field day on the ground, I feel good about this game. Will Wisconsin now, if Wisconsin can get anything going on the ground, that will be concerning for the Hawkeyes. But inevitably, the Wisconsin that we have seen against Penn State, against Notre Dame, against Michigan, I feel is the Wisconsin team Iowa will be playing. I think what we have seen with them beating teams like Illinois, Army, and Purdue is a bunch of fool's gold. They are probably the third or fourth best team in the Big Ten West at this point in the season. And until proven otherwise, and they have a test against or have a chance against Iowa, that is where they will remain. So I am going to go with the Hawkeyes. Now, one more thing. A lot of this is predicated on my expectation that with Iowa having a chance, having an extra week to prepare for Wisconsin, that they will have an adequate game plan and they will get the young wide receivers involved and hopefully get the run game on the right track. That is my expectation. And with that being said, my prediction for this game is an Iowa Hawkeye victory, 28-20. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Iowa ends up winning this game by 10 points, 28-18. I just don't think Wisconsin has enough offensively against this elite defense in Iowa. And you could say, well, Wisconsin has an elite defense too. But the difference is I have confidence that Iowa's offense can get back on track. And at the very least, Iowa can win in other ways, through special teams, through hitting a few field goals. I feel good about those phases of the football game, getting it done at the very least for the Iowa Hawkeyes. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button. It really means a lot when you guys do that. Hopefully we can get over 1,000 by the time this game rolls around next week. That would be huge, huge if we can do that. And at the very least, like, comment. I try and respond to every comment in the comment section. And be sure to check in for the pregame and the postgame show every Saturday. And I will put, if you want to donate to the show, to what I'm doing, I will put the link in the description. And last but not least, I will be entertaining ideas for sponsors for the show. My preference is Iowa businesses, as even though I live in California, I am a diehard Iowa fan, and therefore I would like to support an Iowa business through what I do. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. DBAP, don't be a pussy, Willow. And facts are feelings. Your feelings don't matter. Love y'all. Go Hawks. Bye.